think something's going on. Okay. All right. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Amma ba'd. قد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون صدق الله العظيم. This topic that we're covering, parenting, it has, I would say, at least 10 sessions. I will just review briefly what we went over the last session so that we have an idea, the continuation, and then we'll go over today's topic. So we mentioned last time one of the greatest blessings bestowed upon us in this life is our children. Along with being a blessing and a means of bringing joy into our lives, they are a huge responsibility of ours, entrusted to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Contrary to the belief that general public has, our responsibilities are beyond just feeding them, clothing them, providing shelter, schooling them. The Quran mentions our responsibility in this ayah. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. That, you who believe, save yourself and your family from the fire of Jahannam. وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ, the fuel of which are people and stones. So, what is it meant by this? In the tafsir of this ayat, Ali radiallahu anhu mentions that what is it meant by saving your children and your family from the fire of Jahannam is saving yourself by learning deen for yourself and saving your family by teaching them deen. That's what the meaning of this ayat is, and this is the ayat which the Mufassirin says shows and commands us of our responsibilities. What the rights of our family and our children are is to save them from this Jahannam, and that is through teaching them deen. This is what the Quran is mentioning in the Quran as our duty and responsibility, as their rights upon us. After death, it comes in a hadith, 3 things will benefit us. Sadaqah jariyah, things we have done which will continue on to give benefit to the ummah after we have passed, like building a masjid, building a school, digging a well, or doing something of a sort that it continuously benefits the ummah. Ilm yuntafa'u bihi, that knowledge which will be beneficial after we have passed. They thought somebody had, this chain keeps on going. Even after we have passed, this benefit will come to us. And the third is waladun salih yad'u lahu, that pious child that will pray and make dua for this person. So it's a big bounty that we have this, and these are means of our savior in this life and the hereafter. So last time we mentioned that we've mentioned 12 general usuls of parenting. But before that, we had mentioned there were some prerequisites, some conditions that we must first meet for these principles of usuls to show its color and have a positive effect on our children. It's like planting a seed. Seed will only germinate and take hold and come out if the groundwork had been done first. The climate is there, the earth had been plowed properly and prepared for it. Now when you plant this seed, it will grow out. So the three prerequisites that we mentioned were, number one, that the mother has to be at peace and has to have the support and backing of the husband. Just give me a little water, leave it here. Something's going in my throat. Many times what happens is there's no peace in the house. The wife is not at good terms with the husband, there's fights, this and that going on. So the mother is in her own world thinking about her own self. If I'm here tomorrow or not, it just so happens that a lot of these tough men, they keep threatening the wife also. I'll send you home and I'll send you this. She's always worried, am I secure here or not? So when a wife is not stable and constantly insulted in front of the person, in front of the children, scolded in front of the children, children don't see her one of status, then she is not able to tarbiyah of the child. A lot of times you see, they listen to the father, but they don't listen to the mother. And the father says, hey, how come they can listen to you? The reason for that is because the father has insulted this person so many times in front of the child that the child thinks this person is not one of any value, not one of any status. Her word means nothing, so everybody just overrules whatever she has to say. So the first prerequisite of getting tarbiyah and all these usul that we're going to mention, for them to work, the mother has to be in peace and has to have support and backing of her husband, has to be treated with respect, and we need to create the status of the mother in the children's hearts so that when the mother says something, the child should think to itself that she is one who has value, her word has weight, we can't just blow it off. And that's what usually happens lately, is that mothers are not listened to. Second prerequisite is the mother should instill respect and honor of the father in the child's heart. The child should know that we need to obey and follow our father's instructions. A lot of times, mothers, they talk bad about the father in the house. Oh, your dad did this and your dad like this. You should never have this thing going on where the child has to choose sides. The child has to know they're both parents. The issues between the parents must be between the parents. Don't have the child and don't use that child as some kind of a rope, tug of war and getting sides. People start spoiling the children. Someone buys something more for the children, say, look, I'm better than him and I like you more, or these kind of things happen. Many times I get these, I'm here on the weekends, this issue is going on where the mother is, polluting the child against the father, and then the child is not obeying to the father. So these two things are there. And the third prerequisite is, when you're trying to tell them to do something, have that environment in the house. We should have the environment of the house should be in accordance with what we're trying to teach them. We're saying something else, but the environment says something else, it's not going to work. If the family members in the house, the others who are living, if there's a multi-family or, in-laws are living there, they should make sure that they uphold the environment in accordance to what the parents want. It shouldn't be that the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, or the grandparents have their own different, way of life in Islam, and the mother and father are teaching something else. It should be all in accordance. When these three prerequisites are in place and the environment is proper, now making the tarbiyah of the child, instilling religiousness and teaching them Islamic values will become easy. Then after this, we had mentioned last time there were 12 usuls, general usuls, fundamental usuls, prerequisites for making tarbiyah, raising a child. So the first one we had mentioned last time, the first and foremost, is dua. A person usually says when it comes to giving proper tarbiyah, I'll do this and I'll do that. But remember one thing, that over all the asbab that we have, all the means that we have to accomplish any task, if Allah's help isn't there, it's not going to happen. So the first thing we should do is say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah please, help me and guide me in making a tarbiyah of this child. So the best and most beneficial sabab that we all have to accomplish any task is making dua. That's why the first step a parent should take is to make dua for children. Oh Allah, make our children pious. Make our children, make dua for our children after every salah, after tahajjud, after reading Quran. A dua never goes to waste, especially a mother's dua for her child eventually always shows its color. Surah number 2 we had mentioned. Was being soft-spoken and merciful to the child. Sometimes we feel that if we have that stick over them and have that authority and strictness and scolding manner, that will keep the child in place. Child will do mischief, they will do and say inappropriate things. Their children do not understand that it's wrong. Parents need to be patient, address them with kindness and patience. Ibn Abbas, I had mentioned last time, spent a night. There's Aunt Maymuna, radiallahu anha, and at night the Prophet ﷺ prayed tahajjud, and he stood up behind him. And the Prophet ﷺ, seeing this, he pulled him to his right hand side and joined him with the salah. He went back again. The Prophet ﷺ pulled him up again. He went back again. 3 times this happened. So the Prophet ﷺ, didn't get angry and upset. Instead, first when he asked him, why did you, keep going back when I pulled you next to me? So he said that, I was feeling uneasy. I was feeling scared that, it's not my place to stand next to you. You're the Prophet, and I'm just a little kid. So I was shy and I was feeling that it's not my place. So I moved back out of respect. Prophet didn't get upset. Instead, he made dua, Allahumma faqihu fid din wa 'allimhu ta'wil. Today, if we see something the child has done, we go straight to scolding. Ask them, maybe there's a reason that they did something for. If not, explain to them. So number 1, dua. Number 2, be soft spoken and kind. Number 3, do and say things at appropriate times. A word said at an appropriate time has a great effect. For example, at the time of traveling, it's in a dalil from Rasulullah when he was traveling, Ibn Abbas, he was in the back riding with him, and he said, Ya ghulam, inni u'allimu kalamatin, ihfadillah yahfazka, ihfadillah tajidu tujahak. Idha sa'alta fasalillah, wa idha sta'anta fasta'in billah. So he said that whenever you, oh my child, if I'm going to teach you some words, protect the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll protect you. Always remember Allah. You'll find him in front of you. So he was instilling yaqeen. He was telling him that remember that if you ever ask for help, ask from Allah. وَعَلَمْ إِنَّ الْأُمَّةَ لَوْ اجْتَمَعَتْ عَلَىٰ أَن يَنْفَعُوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَمْ يَنْفَعُوكَ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكَ. If the whole ummah tries to benefit you, they cannot benefit you except for what Allah or destined for you. And if they all come together, إِنْ اجْتَمَعُوا عَلَىٰ أَن يَضُرُّوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَمْ يَضُرُّوكَ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ قَدْ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكَ عَلَيْكَ. And if they all come in together and try to harm you, they cannot harm you except for, he was teaching him his iman. So our ulama say that when you're traveling a lot of time in the car, the children have their mind is like absorbing at the time. They're asking 10,000 questions. And what we do is we put on the DVD, Mulan goes on or something, or whatever else goes on. Those are our times to actually learn and teach, and this is what is mentioned in the hadith, that there's a time the child's alert, they're asking 10,000 questions, don't brush them off and just turn something on and waste that opportunity of teaching them. So at things at an appropriate time, this is another Rasul, has a profound effect. Another time is, the ulama have mentioned that at the time of sleeping, read them stories of the Sahaba, stories of the Quran, instead of reading about cats and mouses and some, egg that fell off the wall, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Don't have to give. Can you imagine we're talking about an egg which is talking with legs and falls off the walls and cracks? What a waste of time to put this garbage in somebody's mind instead of giving them some bedtime story about a story of a Sahaba or some Quran. We talked about some egg that fell off the wall and it cracked. Didn't even have a yolk, just fell in there with an empty yolk. It cracked. Didn't say anything about it. Another time when he's sick. So this is also things that at a proper time, appropriate times, makes an effect. Fourth usul we had mentioned was that speak to the children according to their intellect. We need to simplify the speech and really need to explain clearly what you're trying to say. We had given an example that the Prophet ﷺ had gone on an expedition and he sent 2 people, 2 Sahabis, to go recon the enemy So they found a little boy who just came from the enemy's group, and they asked him, how many people are there? So this little child, sometimes it's 100, 200, 300, so they're like getting angry at him, because it's a baby, it's a child. He can't tell if it's 200, 300, 400, 500, So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, he brought the child, and he said, how many animals do they kill every day over there? How many animals do they slaughter? The child said 9 or 10. So Prophet ﷺ said the enemy has 1,000 people, 900 to 1,000 people, because one animal is sufficient for 100. They're killing 9 or 10. So see, he asked the question according to the intellect of the child. So that benefited it. That gave a proper answer. So ulama say that speak to the child according to their intellect. Don't speak above them, so they can actually understand, and give them talks which is to their level, so it goes in their head. The fifth usul we had mentioned was speak clearly. Many times we have a background of something, what we're speaking about. We have the whole thing. The child doesn't know, and you're giving them a short version of some kind of instruction, and he doesn't have the whole picture. He will not understand. So we need to speak clearly. I'm not going to detail because we went over this last time. It took already over an hour or so. We're just going to get through this so we can get to today's topic. The sixth usul was read from the stories of the Quran, analogies and examples of Anbiya. Number 7 was practically show the child. If a certain action is practically shown to the child, he absorbs and understands it a lot faster. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the Sahaba, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." That pray a lot like you see me praying. He practically showed them. So a practical way of teaching a child, teach them by actually doing it yourself. Demonstrate it. For example, if you want to teach a child to respect their parents, then when you go visit your parents, the child should see the person respecting the grandparents. Now you're asking them, hey, I want to be respected, and when you go to your own parents, you're disrespecting them and not doing khidmat of them and abusing them, then how is this child going to say, hey, why should I respect you? So, practically show them how you make adab of your own parents, how do you do khidmat of your own parents. The child will automatically understand how to behave with its own parents. So Rasulullah give Sahabas practical examples. One day he was standing next to a tree, he shook a tree, the branch of a tree, and all the leaves fell. And he said, just like all the leaves fell off this branch, similarly all the sins of a person are forgiven when they perform salah properly. Many times parents come and tell me, tell him to pray. Salam kare. You haven't said salam to me ever. How is he going to say salam to you? You're coming in, telling me to tell him to say salam. If you say salam in the house, they're going to automatically do it. I stand out here on top, when the time school lets out and everybody's saying hi and bye to each other, even now. So I'm just sitting here, say salam, say salam, say salam. Because the habit of salam is not put in the house. People are still saying bye now. From Quran class, they're going say bye this and bye that. They're saying bye to the teachers. So we need to actually practically do it ourselves, practically pray ourselves, they'll automatically do it. Usul number 8, generally we spoke about last time, assist your child in being pious. If a child is inclined towards virtuous deeds, then and desires to become religious, the parents should assist the child in achieving his goal. Many times kids come and they want to get religious. We should encourage them to pray and fast. And what do the parents say? No, don't do it right now. You have to do school. You have to go to college first. One time, and I spoke about it before also. A child came, this was a few years back. He came for Quran class, and slowly he wanted to. He was a high school kid, so doing Quran, and then he started slowly learning more, starting to pray. He actually started growing the beard, the child, The mother called. So I don't want anything but Quran. I don't want this guy doing this beard. He has to get a job. That's what she said. And he doesn't have time for all this right now, getting up in the morning early because he's going to mess up his school. The mother is saying this about his own person, about getting up to pray. Some of them say, hey, they're on a track team or they're on the sport team. They can't fast today. One fast missed in the time of, Ramadan. entire life you will make qada, you cannot get the ajr back for that one fast. If a child has reached the age of puberty, going to school, middle school, most of these children are puberty age in middle school. Jummah is farz on them. Salat is farz on them. Fasting is farz on them. It's not an excuse that they go to school, that they don't pray. It's not an excuse that they have PE, that they don't fast. It's not an excuse that they go to school, they don't pray Jummah. These are all things they're accountable for. And if the parents have made a situation where the child is missing this, the parents will have to answer for this. So assist our children in becoming religious. Don't be hindrance in them. If they're asking to come to masjid, if they want to get in deen, you should be happy and glad Allah has given them tawfiq for that. Do not discourage them by saying, hey, you still have to get a job. Don't worry about the beard. You have to still, get your degree. Don't get into this. Don't get too religious. These are the things, only a shaqi, a parent who's deprived can say these things about. Because today people come crying that my child is not religious. On the contrary, right now people are having the kids, alhamdulillah, for some reason, in this country, in this door right now, are looking to become religious, looking to try to get ahead in deen. Parents are the ones holding them back. Usul number 9. Don't turn those off from there. There's a switch here. Don't turn them off from there. There's a switch over there. Turn that switch off. But then I have to turn them all on one by one. There's a switch right here, next to the fire extinguisher. Somebody's cold. You cold?
No, children, kids.
Oh, okay. Because I'm hot, because my face is turning red. So that's why if I get hot, then you'll have trouble. It's better to keep me cool than to have to worry about somebody else. Usul number 9. Keep equality between siblings. Sometimes parents give preference to one child over the other. The others get jealous because of this. Dalil in the Quran, Yaqub alayhi salam gave preference to one, jealousy came, and then the whole story came of Yusuf alayhi salam, what happened, leave everything. That's why the ulama have mentioned in the books that it's impermissible to give preference without any reason to one sibling over the other. You should all be loved equally. Some people give preference to boys, some people give preference to girls. It shouldn't be the same. Everybody should be treated equally. Usul number 10, these are general usuls of upbringing, raising children, of doing good tarbiyah, is that they should be taught to adhere to Sunnah, to the Sunnah. First, educate them about Rasulullah, plant the love of Rasulullah in their hearts, and teach them the Sunnah throughout their day, whatever Sunnah applies throughout the various parts of their day. Once they realize who Rasulullah is and recognize his status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the importance of his Sunnah, and realize that the fastest way to becoming beloved and accepted, maqbool in the eyes of Allah, is to replicate and emulate the lifestyle of Rasulullah, then they will also do the same thing. Every scenario of life will face, Rasulullah has demonstrated the Sunnah for us to adhere to act accordingly. The 11th usul we had mentioned last time was children are children and they will play, they will want to have fun. Nothing is wrong. It's nothing wrong from in having fun. Don't give them things which will destroy their deen. Improper games. Today's games are even rated. Rated T for teen, rated M for mature. Indecent images, music, improper themes, means of hurting one's deen. These iPads, if not used properly, also with music and videos and movies. We got to make sure that entertainment. A lot of people, the kids are bored. We have to entertain them. Nothing wrong with entertaining them. Go out there and play basketball. There's a reward of sadaqah to play basketball with a child from spending time. We'll discuss it today. To play with your own child, it's not a waste of time. It's actually Allah will reward you for it. It's in the books of fiqh, but we didn't mention that. But don't just throw them to the TV and throw them to the computer, because they don't have the capacity to filter the good and bad. It's just downloading everything, and then before you know it, that has all taken root and you can't fix it now. Even when giving them computers, should be strong supervision. In the olden days, we had to worry about the company our children keep, tried our best that they don't get into the wrong crowd. Nowadays with Facebook and MySpace and all these things, you don't have to go anywhere. It's like being in the same room. You have chat rooms you go into. You have those little cameras there, and you're just as if you're in the company from the secret of your room, in the privacy of your room. So those bad influences and bad crowds are in the houses, are in our own rooms when we don't have this thing taken care of. So we should come up with some positive intellectual games for them, make them play sports for entertainment. Don't just make your job easy by getting rid of them and throwing them in front of a TV. When I was reading this one place, so one dad, the mother was always scolding the dad, you're not strict enough and this and that, you're easygoing, I'm the one doing all the tarbiyah. So one day the dad wanted to show he's strict. So when the children listened, he goes, no TV for a week. The mother said, don't do that, that's like a punishment to me. If they don't watch TV for a week, I have to watch them. So she's like getting mad at the father that you gave a punishment which is really bad for me, because now I'm the one in the house and you say no TV, that means they're on my head all day then. So that this is, people are looking as TV and video games, to get out of, taking care of children. Like I said, they're not equipped to filter out the bad. So don't make these TVs and Xboxes our babysitters. And the 12th usul is that don't be constantly critical on the child, finding faults in every little thing. This is not the way of tarbiyah, of giving them upbringing. Children don't need critics, they need nasiha, advisors. One who will explain and correct with compassion. Rasulullah said, Inni lakum nasihum ameen, I am a sincere advisor to you. Constant critiquing and scolding, constant fault finding is detrimental to the tarbiyah of the child. There will come a time the child will just become immune to it. He goes, oh yeah, he started again. They'll be standing right there. If you look in their eyes, they're in a different place. The father is yelling at them. And the child has become immune because that's what the father does all the time, day and night, yelling, and have become immune. So we need to learn to discipline them positively. If they make a mistake, don't just start scolding. Instead, we should explain to them, what would have been better to do. So these are the 12 general usuls we spoke of last time. Rules to adhere to first. Once these, you got to hold this child. This is going to get hurt and I'm going to have a problem over here. Keep them with you. So rules to be adhered to first. Once these are in place, then comes imani tarbiyah. This is another topic. Akhlaqi tarbiyah, another topic. Mu'ashrat tarbiyah, how to have social dealing with people. Ta'limi tarbiyah, there's also physical tarbiyah. So Islam has given all these usuls. The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned in the hadith, all these different things are mentioned. Like I said, a lot of times, everybody parents how they were raised. So some parents got raised right, some didn't. This also has to be learned. It's not just something that you just know. Parenting has to be learned also. So today we will discuss another subject. Is building a Muslim identity. After laying down the primary general rules, now we can work on laying down Islamic foundations. Need to make an effort that our children have a good Muslim identity. Become genuine stand-up citizens. When we get out of our house, they are ready to be citizens, benefiting citizens to the ummah outside. Model citizens and role model for the ummah. The child's mind is a clean blank slate. However, we as parents behave is what's imprinted in their ma'asum and pure, innocent, free from contamination minds. And they become a copy of who we are. No matter how much we try, that's what happens. Even if they despise you and say, I don't want to be like that ever again, they'll just end up eventually acting out what their parents did in front of them. Rasulullah said, Ma min mawludin illa yuladu al-fitra فَأَبَوَاهُ يُهَوِّدَانِهِ وَيُنَصِّرَانِهِ وَيُمَجِّسَانِهِ. That every child is born on fitrah, natural disposition and innate character, which is tawheed and goodness. The parents contaminate them and download the viruses and make them Yahuds and Nasara Isais and Majus, Zoroastrians and fire worshippers. For example, a toddler who's still nursing at the age of baby drinking milk, if we're to call them, address them in a scolding manner, or a tone, the infant recognizes and realizes it as being yelled at and starts crying. This young, innocent child can realize when it's being addressed with love and when it's being addressed in a scolding manner. This is a proven point. When a small baby is yelled at, it starts crying. So Allah has given the baby a fitri, natural, inborn instinct to understand whether the person addressing them is doing so in a loving manner or an angry manner. That's why the fundamental usul principle of giving child a good nafsani tarbiyah, instilling in them a good personal identity so that they are psychologically sound and confident, is that we address them properly. So that's the first usul. With love, compassion, respect. Rasulullah used to address people in such a way that he would win their hearts over. In the hadith in Bukhari is mentioned that Anas says, Kana Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam أحسن الناس خلقا وكان لي أخ يقال له أبو عمير قال أحسبه فطيما وكان إذا جاء قال يا أبا عمير ما فعل النغير نغر كان يلعب به فربما حضر الصلاة وهو في بيتنا. So, and al-hadith. So Anas says that I had a brother, his name was Abu Umair, and the Prophet ﷺ used to make him feel special, respected. He said he was an infant, Fatim, infant or just a child that was just weaned off the milk. And he would address him, Ya Aba Umair, Ma Fa'ala Nughair. He would address him in such a loving manner, Aba Umair. Aba Umair means the father of Umair. He was a baby. He's giving him Umair's father like that, treating him like somebody big. He was a baby like that, so he would feel like he's somebody special. That's why when Luqman addressed his sons in the Quran, he said, إِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Oh my dear son, do not make shirk. Difference between maybe minor, but using such words which express, that we hold them dear to us and expresses some sort of love, brings the child closer to us and makes them get attached to us. So first win their hearts over and then instruct them, you'll see they'll obey. Rasulullah instructed, O Anas, if it's possible, O son. He didn't call him Anas, he said, O son, if it's possible for you to keep your heart cleansed from malice and enmity for another person, then do so, because this is my sunnah, and whosoever acts on my sunnah, they'll be with me in Jannah. So he started off with getting his affection and addressing him in a loving manner, get him alert, and then he gave him instructions. Sometimes to get their attention, he used to use factual words, but it would make the person being addressed smile. Once, he called Anas radiallahu anhu, Ya Dal Uzunain, O two-eared one. Everybody has 2 ears, right? O two-eared one, come here. So it was like a nice, loving way of calling him, and that got his attention. Everyone has 2 ears, but if you address a child like that, they'll enjoy it. They'll get happy being called out like that, and that's everyone. There are various methods again to make child believe that they're special and get close to us. If they feel special and close to us, then they'll be more attentive and listen to what they're being asked and accept and obey the instructions or advice being given. So all parents should speak to and address their children with respect. That was the first thing to make them a good model citizens, and giving them a good, instilling in them, identity, Muslim identity. Just like a person of status gets offended if they're not addressed properly or spoken disrespectfully, like an imam, a community leader, a mayor, congressman, governor, if somebody lashes at them and speaks down to them, they'll say, who does this guy think he's talking to? Similarly, in the case of a small child, they don't like being spoken down to. Always speak respectfully, build up their morale. Don't break them down by cutting them down. So usul number 1, building strong confidence personal, is address them with respect. Usul number 2, show them affection. Please them, spend time with them, play with them. When they come home from school, the usul is to make their istiqbal. When the mother is home and the child comes home, receive them at the door. Give them a hug, ask them how their day was. That moment of attention and affection goes a long ways. Just that gaze of compassion gives the child a sense of security. I see a lot of times parents will do that when they pick up the child from here. That's from the Sunnah, to actually pick up and then give them a hug and make a istiqbal of them. Instead of just getting out here and yelling from far, get in the car, stop running around. Actually make a istiqbal and greet them. They should feel that they're welcome, they're wanted. It's another topic, but it's from amongst the usuls of having a good marriage. It's mentioned in the books of fiqh that the wife should do the same for the husband when the husband comes home. Don't be in the pajamas and somewhere hiding in the room. Actually make a istiqbal. It's mentioned that this wife should be dressed up and greet the husband and welcome him home. It goes a long ways in creating a good marital relationship. I was reading this one article that the roles have changed. Today there are many stay-at-home dads. There's a big, actually they have made actually a group of them now. They have some kind of a community now, stay-at-home dad community. They link with each other and they email each other and they talk to each other. So many houses today have stay-home dads. So if there are some of those over here, stay-home dads, so they can make a istiqbal of the wife when the wife comes home, because that's what's going on today. The wives are gone to work, and the dad's got the little baby in the thing and changing diapers and going into. I was watching this thing, and they go to the park together, and the dads are pushing together, and they're all sitting together, all dads, and talking, about how his son is walking now, and another one saying, yeah, he had a rash, and I don't know what's going on, and the stay-home dad's going on. So the spouse staying at home, I guess, can greet the other when they come home, and then have the food ready. And so the woman should actually be dressed up for the husband like that, not for people going outside, but when the husband comes, they should be. A lot of times you see that husband should come home and whatever he wants to see, should see in the house. It shouldn't be seen here and there. So the wife should always keep herself that way presentable and made up for the husband when they come to the home. Rasulullah saw Hassan radiallahu anhu once playing. He got down and spread both his hands out and called for him. Hassan radiallahu anhu spread his arms with love and ran to the Prophet, and he gave them a hug and kiss. Sometimes even Hassan radiallahu anhu sat in his lap. So a lot of times people feel that this is not manly, and you might feel like I might feel a little bit weak about this, but the Prophet ﷺ was the biggest man and the strongest, if you want to put it today's term, the biggest stud around, strongest man around, and he got down and he would show affection to the child. It's his sunnah, so we shouldn't feel ashamed to do that with our own children. The Sharia counts spending time sitting, playing with our children as an act of ibadah. Hide and seek is ibadah. Playing basketball is equivalent to nafli ibadah. Also, Sunnah one day Hassan came and sat on his lap. He stuck his tongue out, and then Hassan was playing and pulling his tongue like this and playing with it. These are all Sunnah the Prophet he would actually go and play with his grandchildren. And today also, same thing goes for us. A lot of times we say we don't have time for this. We put them in leagues and put them here and there. A lot of times you see that I'll take these kids fishing or take them bowling. I make niyyah of ibadah. It might be still I'll catch fish and it'll be fun. I'll bowl and I'll beat everybody and it'll still be fun. But still, make the niyyah of spending time with your children, spending time with our youth, and Allah will give according to our niyyah. Take them out and make niyyah that I'm spending time, because the sunnah of Rasulullah, just that going out with your child, you might be going to a theme park, you might be going to the park to play basketball, but you'll get the reward of actual worship. So we should do that. Third usul is instilling a Muslim identity in a person is build up their morale and confidence. The women know that how happy they get when the husband actually praised their cooking and said, "Yeah, I like this. Because I know in my house every time I show some sort of likeness or something that I like, something that person becomes really happy. They're waiting for that acknowledgement and approval. So similarly, the children, morale and confidence should be praised. Praise them from following instructions and being obedient. That will make them more obedient. Once Ibn Umar saw a dream about Jahannam and he got all scared, so he went and told his sister Hafsa. The Prophet replied, Abdullah is a very good man. He replied with praising him. If he would just be punctual in tahajjud. So he praised him and he gave him instructions. I mean, he completely got off the topic, and he, didn't focus on what his dream was, and he praised him. Saw an opportunity to advise him, and he praised him. And he wanted to give the tahajjud, took advantage of the dream situation and first praised and did this. Abdullah bin Umar says that I never missed tahajjud after that day. So Rasulullah had competition between children. This brings out hidden talents and abilities in a child. Once gathered old and young men together, asked a question. A tree in the jungle whose leaves don't shed, and that tree is Muslim. So everybody's silent. What tree is this? It was like a quiz question. And then he gave them the answer. That's a date palm. So Ibn Umar Diano says that I knew the answer, but due to the adab of everybody around me, Umar Diano was there, Abu Bakr Siddiq, and all the big Kabir Sahabas were there. Out of the adab of those elders, I didn't say anything. Then he told his dad, Umar Diano, that, you know what, I knew the answer, but I didn't say anything. So Umar Diano replied, if you would have answered it, you would have made me happy and proud. There's also in the hadith that Prophet used to have races, made the Sahabas would race and make them compete each other. This competition also brings about ijtimaiyat in the children. We shouldn't make our kid loners separate. Now this whole computer thing has become, they made them, every child is happy to just be in the corner with his laptop, with his little, iPad. So this also a means of bringing ijtimaiyat together, bring them together and have these competitions with them. Because being a loner is not part of Islam. Fourth usul and for instilling is in giving them incentives and on accomplishments. Fourth usul of making a good Islamic Muslim identity in a person is giving him incentives on accomplishments. When to SeaWorld, when the whale jumps out and does the trick, they give him one fish. Dolphin jumps out, they give him another fish. Everybody's getting treats, an incentive. Go through the hoop and they'll toss another fish to them. So we should also give them incentives on accomplishment. For speaking the truth, give them incentive. For being punctual in salat, give them incentive. For following instructions, give them a gift. Reward them for these things, so that will also make them want to do it more. Fifth usul is children have a short-term memory. We have to repeat the same thing over and over again before it sets in. So we should not get upset if we instruct somebody to do something and then they forget and said, I already told you this, how can we do it again? I told you this and I told you, why didn't you do it? This short-term memory in a child, the ulama have written, it's also a rahmat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mercy. For example, if we scold a little child, the other day, I told my son Muhammad so many times, to pray, and during Asr he was missing. For a few times I saw it, then I scolded him, and I raised my voice. Now, he did his thing, he prayed here. As soon as we got outside, he's like, again, like it never happened. About 15 minutes later, like it never happened. So after a little child, they've been scolded, they'll go away crying. After a little while, they'll come and play with you again. And he came right back and hugging and talking to me like nothing never happened. If this child would keep in his mind, this guy just yelled at me, like how we keep it in our mind. If this guy yells at this guy, it'll be a month or two before something happens, unless you guys have something else going on, but they will remember it. They will not let it go. A child has a short-term memory. So this is like a rahmat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if we can scold them even, they'll forget it within 15 minutes. When you go home, they're next to you in the bed, laying down and talking to you like there's nothing happened. So if this child would keep in his mind what just took place a few minutes ago, she yelled at me or he yelled at me, he would never come to you if you called him. We will have to remind them repeatedly, like I said, over and over again, because of the short-term memory. If we give them a task, keep on reminding them, remember the job I gave you, over and over. Sometimes we just say it once and then when the kid forgets, we start getting angry. The child didn't do what he was told, not because he was disobedient, because of being a child and having a short-term memory. So now if a kid is scolded, even though he didn't intentionally disobey, then this will have a negative effect, because he thinks he's getting yelled at for something, he didn't do nothing wrong because he actually forgot. And if we ask the same thing over and over again, then we should not get frustrated. Have patience, realize that this repeated reminders and repeated answers to the same questions is part of raising a child. Realize that and have patience. If you realize this, then we won't get angry and deal with this this issue properly. Even the Sharia doesn't hold a child accountable before reaching the age of puberty. We should deal with the child in the same manner. The Sharia doesn't, until he reaches the age of puberty, he's forgiven. If he makes a mistake, it doesn't go in his book of deeds. So when we're reminding and the child keeps forgetting, we should overlook it and understand as part of parenting to have patience and over give the same answer, give the same reminders. Another point to remember is that if we want to get them to do something or are appointing a duty for them, to do it gradually. Don't just put the whole load on them. For example, if you want to train them to come for Fajr, first step is to get them used to waking up at that time. That's all. Just wake them up at that time. Don't worry about, having your showered and the whole changed and, being in the first saf with the Takbirullah. You can't get that in the first day. So you want to gradually train them to get to that point. The Quran, when it condemned, drinking, it didn't do it at once. The first ayat that came down was La taqrabu salat wa antum sukar. Don't come to salat when you're intoxicated. It didn't say, hey, stop it right away. It said, just don't come to salat. Right away, some Sahaba say, if it's not good enough to be in salat, but something's wrong, some quit, some just adhere to this part of the ayat. Then the next ayat came that Ithmuhuma akbar min naf'ihima. Its harm is more than its benefit, so more people left it. And then the third ayat came down afterwards that this liquor, rijsum min amal shaitan fajtanibuhu, that this is rijs, this is filth from the amal of shaitan, stay away from it. So now, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gradually getting to a certain point. So step by step, gradually, if you appoint something and you want to get your child to something, keep this point in mind that whenever you want to assign a task or duty to our children, make steps, give them instructions at every step and gradually move them towards target in mind. Another point to always remember is to give targheeb. Encourage them by letting them know that they'll get what they'll get, for certain, following instructions. And tarheeb also is important. Explain to them the harm and consequence for not following instructions and disobedience. This is the method used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying that I'll give you Jannah and all its bounties if you're obedient, and warned us of the hellfire and all its horrors as a consequent disobedience. So both these forms of inspirations are effective. Targheeb as well as tarheeb. Just being one-sided, only showing compassion. Some people say, they're children, just show compassion. Then you start spoiling the child. And if you're only one-sided and showing strictness and scolding all the time, just constant, just picking on the person and scolding, that also will get the child ruined. It'll become immune to it. They don't need that either. An eighth usul in building a good Muslim identity is to need to instill in them self-confidence. Instill self-confidence in the child. Most important for a child. A child without self-confidence cannot attain leadership qualities. This kind of child can never have a strong personal identity, will always lack confidence. Rasul said, one time he saw Abdullah bin Jafar in the market, he was working, he saw a small little boy, he was learning how to do business over there. He was young, he went to the Prophet went to him and gave him positive comments and saying, you're doing a good job, this and that, and made dua for barakah for him. This made him confident, made him realize that yes, I can do this job, and understood a sense of achievement. So give our children small duties and tasks that that they can do, and upon completing, praise them. Good job. This will make them self-confident and then grow up to be leaders. Usul number 9 is that we pick and choose their friends. Children learn more from other children, their friends of the same age, than they do from their own parents. Peer pressure. They pick up those habits from those kids right away. If you'll notice, if you see this child in the back, the 3-year-old, and all these people are here, right? And another 3-year-old over here, they got their eye. This guy's sleeping, so he's got no eye over there. But usually, if you see the people of the same age, it attracts. Being of the same age group, it's attractions toward each other. So you'll notice there's a group of people sitting, a child is there, another couple comes in with a child, right away the child attention goes to the other child. Being the same age group is another form of attraction. We have to look for a properly raised child, good habits. If our child befriends a spoiled child, he'll get spoiled himself in no time. Even as adults, we should pick and choose our friends. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La tusahib illa mu'mina." Do not befriend but a believer. وَلَا يَأْكُلْ طَعَامَكَ إِلَّا تَقِي. Do not let anyone but a God-fearing person, a muttaqi person eat your food. What do they mean, a muttaqi person eat your food? What is the fiqh behind this? Do not befriend except a mu'min, and do not let anyone but a pious muttaqi person eat your food. Why? When you invite somebody to your house and you feed them, what's going to happen? They're going to become friends. You become close to each other. So that's what I'm saying. Don't even feed a non-muttaqi your food, because now you got to become friends. It's not good to that. Pick and choose. Doesn't mean look down on people. I'm just saying as a general rule. That's what I'm saying. So because giving dawat and calling people towards your house is a means of getting these families close. So he's saying make sure that the family you're inviting to your house are mutadayyin, are pious, inclined religiously. Al-maru ala dini khalilihi falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. A person will be on the deen of his friend, so look and see who you befriend. This is the hadith from Prophet ﷺ in Bukhari. So not everyone is friend material. Just a few moments in a wrong company, kids can pick up bad habits. Just like how we would protect our children, the ulama have written, like how we would protect our children from vicious predatory animals like lions and tigers and stuff like that. Similarly, we should protect our children from having bad company. Bad friends, they're more harmful than predatory animals, because the animal can just destroy you here. A bad friend can be means destruction of the hereafter. Parents are relaxed in this matter and letting them befriend whoever they want. On the one side, they're controlling the TV and controlling the internet access, making sure the children are not doing anything wrong or not getting influenced bad, protecting them from its harm. But now when they befriend children who have improper home activities and movies and music and stuff like that, then they'll talk to each other, and then the mind will get polluted the same way. Now this child will say, will wish to see the same things the other child did, because the guy already told him, hey, I watched this movie. This is out I went to IMAX 3D. So the guy said, what is IMAX 3D? And he could explain it to him. Things come out and it's almost touching. It's like, oh wow, how come I don't get? That's not fair. How come I don't get to see this? See, the child doesn't know, so he'll want to do the same thing. So that's why it's really important who we let our children associate with. The protocol to follow. Now, one thing the ulama have written is that you can't just protect all our time. We have relatives, we have families, and they get together. So we can't say, hey, that guy had a TV in his house, so I'm not going to do. No, we have also sila rahmi. The joining kinship and being family is also part of deen. We can't just say, hey, we can't associate anybody because we have a whole different standard. No, we have to. That's also part of our life. We have to join. So the protocol to follow on that in such matters, gatherings, is that have a discussion with your child when you come home, and when you go home from these gatherings, when there were mixed all kind of stuff going on. So then we ask them, what did you talk about? What did they say? Things like that. And when they tell you all the things that the discussions that they had, then let them affirm the good things. This is proper, and let them know the things that were un-Islamic and improper. Tell them these are things are not proper, and you abstain. Right away, you have to run that scan. Take out all the. You just have this thing programmed daily. Does a daily scan and takes out anything that goes on. It runs a scan automatically. So you got to run these scans daily on your child. Same thing when they come home from school every day. Take a full account of their day. Ask them what they learned, who they hung out with, what they did all day. The good things, affirm it. The negative, right away. Let them know it's un-Islamic. Delete out of the hard drive every day. This is a parent's responsibility to run this daily scan. Those children attending public school are sent, into a whole different type of environment. Their deen is attacked daily because they're amongst people living a whole different lifestyle. Sometimes our kids, say that, they hang out with somebody, say, I don't do the things he does. He's just a friend. We're just hanging out. This is a clear sign the child's in trouble, not speaking the truth, because Prophet ﷺ says, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi. A person is going to be following the same, on the same pattern of his friend. So a person does according to the company they keep. Next point is to teach them adab. Teach them how to act in front of adults, how to respect their parents, the ulama. Teach them to serve. A lot of times, as part of the daily routine here, we make them do khidmat. Children who came before, they never held a vacuum. They never held a broom. They never washed a dish. So one parent came to me, goes, I didn't send my child to become a maid. I said, who told you this is a maid? It's not about maid. This is tarbiyah. Don't spoil them. This same guy, I know that he was, when he first came to the country, he was washing dishes in Jack in the Box. But right now it became so bad for the child to do so. So do not think that these things are lowering your child or beneath your child. These are tarbiyah. We need to show them how to do khidmah. For 8-9 years, when I was studying, in our school, we had over 500 toilets. So that was, over here we have maybe 7 or 8. Actually, and these were not these kind of restrooms. So we had to sweep every day after Asr. We had to clean the restrooms every day. And our teacher told us, we can easily hire people to do the cleanup. But this is part of your tarbiyah, part of your teaching, part of your upbringing. And we want that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through this, khidmat that you're doing, brings acceptance in your amal, acceptance in your deen, and utilize you for the khidmat of your deen. So khidmah should be also instilled. Don't spoil them and pick up after them. Make them do their own khidmah. Pick up after themselves. Give them chores in the house. Serve the elders. Like today, the children don't know how to act in front of elders. I remember when we were small and somebody came in the house. We weren't screaming and yelling and whatever, and so that the adults couldn't talk. There was a certain way we had to behave. It was instilled in us that some elders that come to a house, be there for taking care of them, serve them the water, bring the food to them. Children today have no. Right away they go to the room and they're playing the games. That's it. That's their part. They're gone, and they're making the noise and doing all that. So we need to bring this back and show them what khidmah is, how to act in front of elders, how to serve the elders, how to keep their voice down. Say salam when somebody comes in the house. Some elders, teach them how to say salam to everybody. Don't just let them go. Children just run off. These are all things that we have to teach them. Show them how to shake hands. Be available. Adab beautifies a person's personality. So today's topic was how to bring in a Muslim identity in a child. These are 10 usuls that we had mentioned today. If we adhere to these, this will bring in a good Islamic identity. When this child goes out, he will be a respectful, positive influence, and he will show, to the ummah what a Muslim is supposed to be like. Today we're Muslim by names, but the adats and their habits are something else. It's our responsibility as parents to instill in them these points, so that they can go out and show the world. Because many times I've said, even our ulama say, the non-Muslim is not going to come and read, illa mashallah, read the Quran and make mutala of the Quran and become Muslim. They'll see us as people of the community, how we behave, how we act, and they will get affected by our akhlaq and our character and our demeanor, and they will say, what makes this guy this way? What makes this person be so nice? What makes this person be so righteous, so polite, so honest? And they'll say, let me research what made him that way. Because why we do it? Because we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for Allah has ordered. Why we act a certain way? Because this was the way Rasulullah acted. That is a means of da'wah. We don't have to give them big long, lectures and give them pass out flyers and pamphlets and all that. No. They will see our demeanor, So we need to bring our children up and understand that, a lot of times people say they have a double standard, that we should treat the Muslims good and the non-Muslims certain differently. No. We should treat non-Muslims even better, because we are in this dunya here as an example, and we're supposed to be the ones to, work and spread the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the biggest da'wah we'll give to anybody else, the non-Muslims all around us. When I first came in this building, when I came to lease it, the landlord, the first thing he asked me is, "Are you going to blow us up?" So he asked me that before he gave me the lease. He was scared. He had a really, what do you call it, mentality, prejudice mentality of Muslims. Other day he came to my office last week. He goes, "You know what? I fight for you guys every time you have a church meeting." The same guy, 3 years later. Because he sees how we dealt with them. He sees what we do. He has a whole different picture. And really he had a picture of Muslims that were all bad. All we do is just, go around taking down buildings. That's all he felt at. And that's what he actually sincerely asked me, "Are you going to take this building down?" So we need to just show the people what true Islam is. And Islam is not about harming and hurting and pointing fingers. No. Islam is peace. And Islam is, this is what we're trying to teach our children. To be role models. Do not try to become like them so that we be accepted. No. Deen itself, one of the biggest, yesterday in the khutbah that I was mentioning, one of the things that, one of the effects of Sunnah is that it will bring about love of the barara, the pious in the people's hearts, and it will instill ru'b, the intimidation and fear, not due to because they're scared we're going to hurt them, due to holding high self-esteem for a Muslim, a person who adheres to Sunnah. One of the benefits is that the barara, the pious, will start to love you. But everybody wants to be accepted, right? The way to be accepted is getting more and more here in Sunnah. And another thing of Sunnah is, benefit of Sunnah is that the fajr, the ones who are, Bedeen and away from Deen, they will have this ru'b of the Muslims in their heart. And they are holding them in self-esteem. So what we want from these people, and we want their acceptance, we want people to love us, and we want all this, is not through, converting and changing ourselves into becoming what they are, is sticking to our Deen and holding steadfast to Sunnah. That itself will get us where we're trying to get to. That will bring their respect in these non-Muslims' hearts about us. They will not respect us more if we become like them. They will respect us more if we actually adhere to Sunnah, true Sunnah. Not some perverted concept that's out there about just putting everybody down and hating everybody. No, it's not Islam. It was never like that. So may Allah give us tawfiq for amal. Subhanallah bihamdihi. Subhanaka wa hamdik. Nashhadu la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Rabbik fir warhamta khair. Ameen. And then this subject about parenting and the usuls, like I mentioned, we will mention, there'll be every month we'll do one. Next month we'll do imani tarbiyah. What is the usuls and protocol to give an imani upbringing, the tarbiyah. Then there's akhlaq. Then there's mu'asharat, socializing, how to give them. What are the usuls that the Prophet mentioned and Deen mentions about teaching our children social skills, imani skills, character skills. There's different, even in terms of physical upbringing. These are skills all have to be learned Islamically. What Islam tells us to teach them. We'll go over it. Islamic, like I said, probably about 8 more sayings. This is number 2. Total of 8 that I have a whole set, and we'll go over it every time. If you attend every time, it'll be a link. Like today, we had to review the last months. It takes up a lot of time. So if we can just try to review that on your own and have that, so it all links up, and it will have more benefit to it. Jazakallah for coming. All right, we're going to have adhan in about 10 minutes, so inshallah, go ahead and make wudu, who has to do, and we'll get ready to go. Jazakallah khair.